So Black Ops 6 is now 3 weeks away. It's probably right around that time when we're about to hear when the game has been certified gold, it's ready to press to disc and ship out, if it hasn't already been and it just hasn't been announced. It's also that time when more information is starting to roll out, and Treyarch has even said that next week we've got some good intel coming that will lead us up to launch. So we've got a busy next few weeks leading to that launch and then with launch, but today I want to take a final bit of that radio silence and discuss a few things that I'm still a little concerned for with the launch of Black Ops 6 and beyond. I'd love for these to be mentioned or elaborated on officially speaking, but who knows if it'll happen. So drop your thoughts as we go along. Is there anything that you would add to this list here of concerns that you'd like to hear a bit more clarified before the launch of Black Ops 6? Drop a like if you enjoyed the video and make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all things Black Ops 6. We're pushing towards 600,000 subscribers with, again, that lofty goal to either hit it or close that gap by launch. So if you're part of that nearly 75% of viewers not subscribed, I'd love to have you in the community. But for now, let's get into it. First, I want to kind of break this up into two different segments here. Stuff that will actually affect the gameplay and the content versus then some stuff that's like game design and like networking side of things here. Firstly, starting out with the content side of things, map sizing is something that I'd still like to see a little bit more clarity on. Of course, we've seen how these things were detailed, the sort of sizing that was given in terms of small to medium-sized maps. We don't have, as Treyarch described, any large-scale maps, but that's, again, not necessarily relevant to the discussion that I have with this today. We saw that in the beta, pace of play plus the map sizing made a lot of what we had on offer feel almost too congested. Maps already have been listed in regards to, again, what to expect, but we don't know comparable sizing compared to other games, things we've already played in the past. Like, is this going to be something that we have like the median map size, the size of like traditional Nuketown, Raid, Shipment, you name it from prior games that like we can immediately recognize, okay, that's to scale. I think there's an interesting balance to strike with these maps because grindy maps are no issue, but if they're all like that, some modes just don't work in good gameplay loops for that. Like, imagine being a search and destroy player as your main. That's your primary mode that you play. If even half the maps in the map pool are the size of Shipment or Babylon like we saw in the beta, that wouldn't be an enjoyable experience at all. CTF would be another one. I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but Control would also be another on top of that. Like, imagine a competitive scene where 2 of the 3 main CDL modes are Control and Search, and they're being played on Shipment-sized maps. I don't think that would work. I think it'd be unbearable to play and also unbearable to watch. So it's not necessarily like me wanting clarification on the size just so I'm just like, oh, I don't want only small maps or I don't only want big maps, because we can see the brain rot that can happen from just small maps and also the snooze fest that just big maps can be, like Stonehaven from Ghosts. So while you're never going to please everyone and have that perfect balance, I think that from a fundamental gameplay loop perspective, there needs to be a balance struck between all of that. So I'd love to see a little more elaboration on the comparable sizing, scaling, and things like that. Weapon balance is something that I don't want an immediate stale meta. And like, listen, I get it. I'm guilty of this too. I stopped uploading weapon class videos and loadout guides and stuff like that regularly and such because I was bored of it. I didn't care for the same repetition of it all and only seeing those weapons. Now, in no means do I mean to say this as if I have any influence over the millions of players at large, but the people that I'd be playing at in my skill brackets, in ranked play for Resurgence or Modern Warfare 3 ranked if I wanted to play that, whatever, those are the type of people that care more about the game and are more invested in it. So they've probably seen someone's loadout recommendation, or they've seen that specific weapons are statistically better than others like that. So if you're going hard, you're gonna want to use what's best. I get it. That's natural, but after a while it can just be kind of boring, especially in just regular old public matches. Part of that is on the player only sticking to the very best and not branching out, but also part of that is on the developing team for not balancing weapons and shifting anything in their power to create a diversity in weapon selection. We saw that even in the beta, the Jackal PDW was head and shoulders above everything else. And sure, it was only available for 2 weeks during that span, but it was also adjusted in week 2. Probably not enough because it was still crazy good, but the hands-on approach is definitely a welcome start to how the year may shape up. And I'm just hoping that it continues on throughout the year as opposed to what we've seen in prior years and especially recently. I feel like especially the Warzone meta, we had persisting metas all throughout Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 and then Modern Warfare 3 with Urzikstan where like there were months at a time where the weapon tree was not shaken at all and months went by where the same weapons were the same dominant things. Now, I personally think that the prestige system will lend a hand to this a little bit with things being relocked. That period of repetitive nature for weapons may be postponed a bit because people are going to be grinding out their weapons, relocking things, but I think eventually it's always going to happen. weapons. So I guess my thing is that I hope that that sort of weapon diversity period of time is just extended rather than reaching it so quickly like we have in years prior. The next thing that I have a slight concern over is content complacency, or like how live service operations are going to be handled. This is something that we're going to elaborate further on in our year-end review of Modern Warfare 3, which I'm really stoked to bring that to you guys. I think that is scheduled for the 18th currently right now, if I'm correct. So 1 week from launch, but depending on what Black Ops 6 lead-up looks like, it may be sooner, might be a day or two later. But there's lots to talk about in that one, but I firmly believe that we are coming off the best year of live service and traditional multiplayer content support we've seen since the shift to this happening in the franchise. Since Black Ops 3 and the first sort of seasonal events like the Days of Summer, I don't think that we've seen a year so consistently give us new challenges, rewards, events, and such, and by sheer quantity, not just feeling, it's objectively the case. There's been more given to us in terms of trying to keep us active in the game than ever before. So Black Ops 6 has some incredibly large shoes to fill that, let's be honest and not set ourselves up for disappointment here, I don't think that we're going to see the same level of content distribution as we saw this year. Right up front, I am optimistic about this game, and I think that it has potential to be good for a lot of types of players, but I'd rather set that expectation lower coming off a record year than being disappointed. So as long as Black Ops 6 can come even close to Modern Warfare 3's level of support, those events, traditional multiplayer support in seasons, weapon and map quantity and quality, engaging and worthwhile rewards for players to continue playing, so long that it's even close, I think that we're in for a good year. But again, coming off a record year, that's one of those things that I feel like it's going to be a concern that it's going to feel way more stale. Now, I'm probably going to miss a few things here with this, but just in the interest of time, let's talk about these sort of game fundamentals and the networking side of things here. One of the big things, obviously, that's a huge concern, and I see it every single time we upload a video, Ricochet anti-cheat. It needs to be better. I'm not somebody that personally understands the engineering of an anti-cheat. I don't pretend to know that kind of stuff, but it is one of those things that right now, yeah, you'll see that it toys with some people every so often. I'll see a player get booted from a game where it says so-and-so is ricocheted, but obviously it's something that the cheating still persists. It's not nearly as good as some of the other anti-cheats out there. And it's just one of those things that I feel like it's always going to be an uphill battle, but you'd love to see it do more. I don't know what else more to elaborate on that, but like, cheaters are obviously something you don't want to have to deal with. So fingers crossed that we don't see too much of these within Black Ops 6, but I'd love to see some more elaboration, some more commitment here from the Ricochet anti-cheat team coming out before Black Ops 6. Commitment to making this even better in the year ahead. Next, online only is something that I've been thinking about a lot recently, and this isn't new information. This isn't something that was recently debuted or anything. We actually learned about this back in like June, I think, whenever the worldwide reveal happened for Black Ops 6, but Black Ops 6 is going to be online only, meaning you need an online connection for multiplayer, zombies, Warzone, and even campaign. Now, normally I wouldn't really pay too much attention to this kind of stuff. My internet's pretty solid. I never really have any outages, and it's something that's a lucky situation to be in. Not everybody's in that kind of situation where it's maybe something you have to worry about regularly. But then when you have situations like last week when PlayStation Network and Xbox were entirely down, that is millions of players around the world, not just for Call of Duty, but any game on those networks, unable to use those sort of situations. And the weird thing is that it seems like Call of Duty, Activision, and maybe Microsoft applications, their licensing is suspended whenever it's not connected to the internet. I saw a post of somebody that said that they were just trying to play the campaign for Modern Warfare 2 offline, and they got a notice from PlayStation that they were going to shut the game down because they couldn't verify the game license. So like, online only is something that I feel like going forward into the future, we might have to have a bigger conversation about. That I understand from a business perspective, like it saves a ton on physical disc distribution, but then we can get into the whole topic of, well, do you actually own anything that you bought? So like, online only is just one of those things that I hope it doesn't become too much an issue this year, but I still don't agree with not having any offline modes at all. It's just, that's kind of weird to me. Game connection, speaking of connectivity, is also something that I feel could be a concern. In the beta, we saw plenty of connectivity issues where not only just that massive amount of packet bursting was happening in almost every game that you played, but a lot of times consoles in particular were like having frame skips that you could not actually mitigate at all. Didn't matter if you were on like a gig connection, you were just still having these frame skips because of the console version. Like, it's a weird thing that I'm hoping is fixed out here for the launch of the game. And again, with that beta period being earlier than years prior, you would think that some of this stuff was actually genuinely acted upon, genuinely fixed out, rather than just being what it usually is a marketing tactic to end up getting more pre-orders. Fingers crossed, networking has been improved as well, because Lord knows we can use better networking across all the Call of Duty experiences. And the final thing that we'll touch on, again, just in the interest of time, is, well, it's kind of a freebie here, skill-based matchmaking. This is one of those things that, like, from a content creator perspective, it's just like, if I don't mention it, people get mad, like, why did you say skill-based matchmaking? And then if I do say skill-based matchmaking, it's just like, well, all you want to do is stomp noobs. And I'm just like, no, I don't. I end up having actual issues at the skill ratings where if I do play certain games, it's something that I can feel and see a visible difference in that latency with each of my matches. Trying to match players of a certain value will inevitably end up expanding that region search for matching players rather than just taking the closest people around me or the quickest connecting people to my lobby in a densely populated area. My thing, I'd love for them to tone it down. I don't care for skill-based matchmaking at all. I've explained my piece on this time and time again. I'm from that era of gaming that if you wanted to do better, you played and you clawed your way out of being crushed. You ended up learning how to crush players yourself. But the problem is, as I've said before again, this isn't gonna change. No matter if I bring it up, if I don't bring it up, doesn't matter. Those in charge, they don't care. They see that it retains player numbers and they end up seeing that that leads to more spending, and then it's inevitably in place for the foreseeable future. Anybody that I could actually talk to. I feel privileged enough that having done this for so long, I've gotten to become friends with some developers. I've gotten to meet some really awesome people, have face-to-face chats with those involved with creating the games. But let me tell you, man, anytime that I do, and I do bring this up to people to their faces, they're not the ones that are ever going to be able to make that change. The people that do that, they're in the executive level. Those ones that'll never meet with the press, never meet with lowly content creators like me. And again, they're only driven by the dollar signs, which it very clearly boosts. So I'd love for something to change here at this, but I mean, they've already even doubled down in their sort of white paper discussion about how matchmaking works here this past year. So I'm not getting my hopes up with that one, but I do have concerns that it's going to inevitably still drive some of the diehard fans away. It's going to be something that affects my own personal interest in the game long term. But I mean, for right now, it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. But anyways, that is where we're going to wrap it up. That's a few concerns that have just been on my mind here for Black Ops 6. I'd love to get anything that you would like to add to the list. Feel free to drop it down there in the comment section down below. Let's keep it civil, though. Let's be cool with everybody. But I think with that, we're going to wrap it up. So let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think here of my list? Again, add anything if you'd like to. Feel free to drop a like if you guys enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe for more Black Ops 6 and other FPS coverage. We've got a very busy next couple of weeks to months here, so I'd love to have in the community, especially as we chase down 600,000 subscribers. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.